So today I am here with Chelsea Clark. She is an agent on the team, and she specializes in color and staging for your home. So I value her opinion when it's time to list a home, and I've asked her to just come on and talk about getting your home ready to put on the market. So Chelsea, what do you think the most important thing people need to do to get their home on the market?
I think there's two super important things. One is a really great deep clean done by a professional. Everything top to bottom, from your corner cobwebs to the baseboards to countertops, tabletops, bathrooms, grout, you name it. It does make a huge impact, but we only do that after we declutter, and that they're kind of like hand in hand. So typically when you move, you're already in that thought process where you're going to start getting rid of things, you're going to start selling things. So go ahead and remove those things, put them in the garage, and then start paring down those items that are just absolutely not necessary, that you can live without. And this is also just mainly for photos. When we get into showings, obviously people know you live in your home and you can live in it, but for photos, we kind of want that not lived in feel. So it is a task, but it's very effective.
So, I've heard people say, and it wasn't my original saying, but I have adopted it, that when you get ready to move, everything you own is going to go through your hands. Whether or not you get rid of it, you keep it, you donate it, you sell it, whatever, you're probably going to touch every single item in your home. So that's a lot of work when I think about that. How important you really, I feel like you really emphasize cleaning. That just came in right out of the punch.
Yeah.
Why is that important?
It's just the first impression someone sees of your home, and you want to make sure your home is as presentable and top-notch as possible. And a huge part of that is cleanliness and smell, making sure that the smell reflects the cleanliness and vice versa. So you want to just make sure that you know when you are having company over and it's Christmas and you do the Fury cleaning, like that. You just want it to be the best it can possibly be.
Okay, so let's talk about personal pictures. What are your thoughts on leaving personal pictures out versus packing them away?
Yeah, I am personally fine with personal photos, but it's what you're comfortable with. And if you're not comfortable with specific photos being advertised to random people online who would be a consumer of your listing, then it's a good idea for you to remove them or to black them out. Whatever you find to be appropriate. I know there's a lot of small children and things like that can be in photos, or family members that may not want to consent to that. So I think it's fair to remove them or block them out, or if you're comfortable with it, keep it if they fit the fit the aesthetic.
So for me personally, when I walk into a home and I see a wall of photos, guess what I do?
I go look at them.
Yeah.
I think it's sweet.
Yeah, and so I want to see who these people are. And then my clients are like, I wonder if I know them. So it distracts me from actually looking at the home. But, I think a few here and there, it's okay. Okay, what about that collection of figurines or little, Hot Wheels or little ceramic things or whatever people collect, salt shakers? If you've got a wall of a collection, what are your thoughts about leaving that out?
Yeah, so I think anything that you believe has value, or that does have intrinsic value, or that is really special to you, or has some emotional tie, like my grandmother collected spoons. So if I had like a spoon collection, I might not want that out for people who I'm not familiar with to have access to. We also say this about firearms and things like that. Lock it up, make sure it's safe. You are letting people in with a licensed realtor, but you just never know what people are capable of or who they are. So you just want to make sure that you are providing as much security for your things as possible. So boxing them up, putting them away, putting them in a safe is my best practice.
So we always say to put away jewelry, firearms, medications, and of course collectibles. And I always think with collectibles, it could be something as innocent as a child, playing with something and then putting it in their pocket, and this family has looked at 10 homes that day, and then they have to go back and retrace their steps and find out where this came from. So I think sometimes it could be an innocent thing. So I'm going to go back to cleaning. You know, my definition of cleaning might be different than someone else's definition of cleaning. So what are some of the things that you think people don't really think about cleaning but are so important to clean?
Windows inside and out, your blinds, spot cleaning your rugs, your carpet, making sure that it is spick and span. Your walls get really dirty, they get scuffed up, so it's really important not only to clean them and your baseboards, but maybe slap a fresh coat of paint on there, because even just in dining rooms and things, when you hit the wall with the chairs, they just get scuffed, and there's just that color transfer. So you want to make sure that even down to those details, that you're making it as clean and as streamlined as possible.
Okay, as I said, you're a certified color specialist. So how important is the paint color in a home?
I think color is incredibly important. We could, dive down the color theory rabbit hole, but I think ultimately we don't want to strip the character out of your home, but we do kind of want to strip you out of the home, essentially. I know it's a stinger, but ultimately it's not going to be your home anymore, and you need to make sure that it is being marketed to the general public and not in like a niche way. Like if you have like bright red walls or a black ceiling, that might not be the most appropriate unless it kind of matches the aesthetic of the build of the home, in which case it's case by case basis. We'll assess it when we get there, but typically we want to make sure not necessarily that it's neutral, but that it's appropriate.
Okay, that's excellent. What about a curb appeal? We're talking about the outside of your home. So let's talk about the front of the home, and then we'll go to the back of the home.
Yeah.
How important is curb appeal?
It is the most important. It is the book cover to the book. It's the first thing that you see. It's what, the photos that people will send to their friends or listings to their agents. The first thing people see about a house is the way it looks on the front. And you want to make sure it's clean, concise, and, I will say healthy. That kind of sounds funny, but you don't want it to look decrepit and like the shutters are falling off or the paint is peeling. So I would definitely make sure your yard is manicured. If it's summertime or springtime, make sure the yard is mowed, the trees are trimmed up. I know a lot of people can be really intimidated by flower beds, but ultimately if gardening is not your passion, pull out all those dead plants and those weeds, just put some black mulch on there, and that's going to look so great. Your front door needs to be clean, the little crevices around it free of spiders. Make sure the light bulb on the porch is lit and works. And ultimately just make sure the paint is nice and presentable and we're not missing like whole chunks and it's not cracking or anything like that.
I think come to your home and look at it through the eyes of a buyer or have someone else. And even as corny as it sounds, start at the street. Go through the front door, walk through every single room, and make notes of what you think needs that a buyer would see that maybe you're not seeing. So, okay, let's talk about the back of the home and the exterior.
I think backyards are really lived in, especially here. It's nice. We're called green country for a reason, so people really enjoy their backyards. I think ultimately it just needs to be clean, no huge mud piles. Like make sure that you are being a good steward of that backyard so people can also, when they walk through, they can enjoy it and see themselves there in the future.
Okay, so we've had some really good tips. If you are thinking about listing your home, I would suggest you give Chelsea a call. She can walk you through getting it ready to stay, ready for pictures, and then ready for showings. We're going to pop up a couple of lists that we have, and they seem like long lists, but one is just for getting your home ready for pictures. And then the next one is a list to go through when you're getting ready to show your home. They're invaluable. And in the meantime, give Chelsea a call and let her walk you through the process. So don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channels, and stay tuned for more videos on homeownership and real estate, all around real estate. Thank you.